Folks, earlier on America Talks Live, the show that I do at noon Eastern Time, also here on Newsmax Television, I spoke to Congressman Stephen King. Watch.
Speaking to wealthy donors, Hillary Clinton called tens of millions of Americans deplorable.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
People like you, and you. Deplorable. You know what's deplorable? Hillary Clinton viciously demonizing hard-working people like you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the spot that Donald Trump put together over the basket of deplorable comment by Hillary Clinton. Joining us now, Republican Congressman from the great state of Iowa, Steve King, member of the House Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security. Hello, sir.
Well, hello. Good to be back connected with you, Steve.
And from one deplorable to another, welcome aboard.
I fit that deplorable category. It's an honorable thing now.
I'm telling you.
I used to be a vast right-wing conspirator. Now I'm just simply deplorable.
Yeah, there you go. I can't wait. I got to get me one of those T-shirts. I can't wait to wear it around. All right. So let me ask you. Where to start? Why don't we start with something in Congress, and we'll work our way back to Hillary's health and everything else. But I saw the hearings yesterday where the spokesman for the FBI, one of the directors, was testifying before the Oversight Committee, and Jason Chaffetz asked, hey, why can't we, the Congress, get all of the FBI notes, unredacted, of the interview with Hillary? Why only select documents or notes that were released, by the way, on Friday before Labor Day in the middle of the night? And he said, well, I can't guarantee we will do that. He said, well, I'm going to subpoena them right now. So he's issued a subpoena for those notes. What's the rationale, and what does it tell you, if anything, that the FBI says, oh, we can't guarantee we'll hand those over?
Well, the FBI has said we're not going to cooperate with a legitimate congressional investigation. We have oversight responsibility over the FBI, over every executive branch of government that there is, and to give the FBI that discretion to declare things to be classified that members of Congress can't even review in a classified setting, and Chairman Chaffetz has made that case over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I really tip my hat to Jason Chaffetz for being prepared with the subpoena to pop that on him, and he said, you are hereby served.
Yep.
That's the kind of actions that Congress needs to be taking boldly and immediately. And I had an expression here in my office today that we have an executive branch that refuses to comply with constitutional, legitimate subpoena orders. And an executive branch that does that, they have taken on the legislative authority and by writing rules and regulations that supplant the rule of Congress. And the president has the authority to command the executive branch to enforce those actions of his White House. And yet, here sits Congress with the only enforcement action we have, 2 of them, either impeachment, which might well happen to John Koskinen, or else power the purse.
Well, let me ask you. You brought up, you read my mind, or at least the impeachment word, right out of my mind, because I had Andy McCarthy on, the great Andy McCarthy, who I'm sure you're familiar with, former federal prosecutor.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And he wrote a whole piece recently about how the Congress, you know, everything all of you guys say, which is true, about the FBI, you know, but making a case but not going through with it. The Republicans in Congress believe, I would say all of them for the most part, if not all of them, a few holdouts, that Hillary has committed, if not felonies, certainly high crimes and misdemeanors. She can be impeached right now by the Congress, according to Andy McCarthy. So I said to Andy, and you tell me what you think of this, I said if we had a leadership that really wanted Donald Trump to win, they might do that.
Well, I think Andy's made a legitimate point. I think he's on constitutionally solid ground that we have the constitutional authority to impeach Hillary Clinton. And not only there's no office to remove her from right now, but we can prevent her from an office of public trust. And we could, and also neither does that prevent any charges from being brought as subsequent to an impeachment. I think our founding fathers understood that impeachment would always be a political decision. That's why they said high crimes and misdemeanors. The misdemeanor can be whatever it is Congress decides it is, but it's still a political question. And too many members of Congress knees knock when we say no to President Obama. We don't want to fund your unconstitutional executive amnesty. we don't want to fund your illogical, irresponsible, and unaffordable CARE Act. But yet they believe that they have some kind of obligation to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and then they think they have an obligation to fund that which is unconstitutional.
Right. Well,
they've got a long ways to go, Steve.
Would you, if it were up to you, if you were the Speaker of the House, which we talked about a long time ago when we knew Boehner was leaving, would you be in favor of the Congress undertaking impeachment against Hillary right now?
At this point, no, and because it's a political question, and we have an election coming up in November, and you would be faced with a huge political backlash that would say, for political reasons, you're trying to deny the will of the people, and you have to allow a legitimate election, and yet what we have is we have an executive branch of government that's Justice Department is a shield that's protecting Hillary Clinton from actions that appear to be felonious. And, I've read through the statutes that are there. Andy McCarthy has written about it better than anybody else has. And I don't think there's question. The evidence that I've seen points to Hillary's violations of a number of our espionage laws. And I think that they've created a deniable link between Loretta Lynch and James Comey that's an illogical and irrational one. And on top of that, tens of thousands of emails have not only are they outside the reach of the United States Congress, but they were in the hands of Hillary's attorneys, and they were downloaded into their devices, and they searched them for these terms that supposedly were State Department government terms,
right?
And they dumped the rest. They have destroyed evidence to a crime, and that doesn't. You don't get to do that under attorney-client privilege. They should be disbarred.
Outrageous. If you want to talk to the congressman and to me here on America Talks Live, 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. Let me ask you, the president, if he hasn't done it already, they've said he will veto that bill that passed the House on a voice vote last week and had passed the Senate unanimously, I think maybe also on a voice vote, saying that 9/11 victims' families can sue Saudi Arabia. If he vetoes it, which he will, I think it'll be the 11th veto. Congress has never overridden one of them from Obama. Do you believe that will it be brought up again in the House, and will it get 2/3 votes to override?
Well, it may be brought up again in the House. I think that comes back to a political question again. We'll see whether the votes are there. I would think it would be a very good bill to bring up for any veto override attempt here in the House. It says something especially to the people in the New York metro area, where you sit right now. You know the politics of reaching over into New Jersey and outside of New York, but all of that northeastern area that was hit especially hard on September 11th, 15 years ago last Sunday. To see something that is a unanimous vote in the House and the Senate vetoed by the president, bring that back up and let's see who has the courage of their convictions. I would just about wager to you that most, if not all, Democrats would flip the other way and defend their president rather than do what they know is true and right and just.
That's interesting and sad at the same time. All right, let me ask you about the national anthem thing. You know, there's a soundbite of the coach, which I'm going to play in the next segment. Coach of the 49ers from last night. There were more protests. Kaepernick took a knee. You have players pumping their fists in the air, and the coach of the 49ers says that there's a constitutional right for these players to do this. And Congressman, no, there's not. Not on the field, not in uniform. For instance, the NFL wouldn't let the players who wanted to wear little 9/11 emblems on their shoes. They said, no, you'll be fined. And I can't sit here with my fist in the air in a form of protest over something while I do my show. I'd be fired. My boss would say, you can't do it. So why do you believe that the NFL is capitulating to this when there's no constitutional right for freedom of expression when you're in uniform and working, as a football player for a football team?
Well, Steve, I just think if somebody's working for me and they represent me, that's the same scenario, legal scenario that they have on a football team. And you go out there, if somebody went out there and said, I'm going to, in my spare time, I'm going to promote abortion and same-sex marriage and eroding the Constitution of the United States and promote socialism, they'd be gone in the first minute they opened their mouth on that. I would fire them, and they all know that. I think Colin Kaepernick is representing the San Francisco 49ers when he puts on that uniform, when he steps out on the stage, the world stage. He's taken advantage of that, and he's undermining patriotism. I understand that he has an Islamic girlfriend that is his fiance, and that this has changed him. He's taken on some different political views along the way. This is activism that's sympathetic to ISIS. And for me, if I'm the coach, I would say, you're done. Until you take a knee and beg forgiveness from the American people, you're not going to set foot out on this field again.
Congressman,
that would be my answer to him.
Congressman, great to talk to you, my friend. As always, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
All right. Up next, Ron Kessler joins me. Don't go away.